Good morning, everyone. It's Monday of the long weekend, which felt kind of the same as every other day for the last, 20 days or 28 days or so, because we've been all together in this. So I hope that you and your family had a joyous Easter or Passover or whatever springtime festival is usual for you, and that I've seen some of your creativity on Facebook about what you've done to make this time special. So that's wonderful. I saw a meme last week, and it started out. It was more than a meme. It was a group of infographics, and it was a group of lists about what if. And the first one started, what if? What if you're not cranky and out of sorts? What if you are short on alone time, solitude, ability to recharge, all of those things? And it gave this different perspective on how some of us may be feeling. And if you're like me, this weekend was a little bit lonesome. It was a little bit sad because I was missing out on family. It was a little bit bleh because the weather was a little bit bleh. That is my official professional assessment of how I'm feeling. But today is sunny and today is a new day. And so despite all of that, I wanted to come to you with just an idea about what if and how it relates to spiritual resiliency. And as we're talking about spiritual resiliency, oftentimes we talk about an elastic band. And resiliency is the ability for the elastic band to expand in times of crisis and then contract is what I think I meant. Expand and contract without breaking. And that's definitely a great definition. Sometimes building spiritual resiliency can be a bit uncertain because we don't know how, sometimes short of going through experiences, how we learn to expand and contract. And I was thinking about resiliency as relates to resources. So if you take a moment and imagine with me that your car is broken down on the side of the road, and you take it to the garage and the mechanic says the transmission has fallen out of it and it will cost $5,000 to fix it. Some of you are just getting like panicked just thinking of that. Now imagine if your resources included $1 million in the bank, cash. Probably a $5,000 fix wouldn't even faze you. You may even have someone to take care of it for you. But if you had $5 in the bank, $5,000 would seem like the end of the world, and it would be very, very difficult. And so how it relates to resiliency is when you have good resources, for example, in my example, money to make a car repair, when you have lots of resources, it's easier to get through the obstacles that come your way. And those resources can be a large variety of things. And that's why we talk about building spiritual resiliency, because that's a resource. If you think of it like a battery, and if you think of our hearts, if we think of our lives and our spirits right now as a battery, and that's a resource, and as we're expending energy in this crisis time, it's diminishing our battery. It's lowering the resources available to us. And what we're finding, I was talking to a friend and she was saying, I'm having to relearn everything. Those day-to-day things, how do we go to the grocery store? Is it going to be safe to? There's a lot of stuff chunking away in the background without us maybe even realizing it, that's diminishing our batteries. And when our batteries get diminished, we don't have the resources to be as resilient as we could be. And so we're short with our friends, or we're short with our family members, or we're annoyed that our dog needs to be walked yet again, and it doesn't make sense. Isn't how we would normally respond. But what if there was a way to recharge those batteries, to understand how to recharge those batteries? And that's a lot of what we've been talking about with spiritual resiliency. So things like sleep, exercise, good nutrition, those all recharge some of those batteries. But there's another way, and we've been talking about doing creative things. We've been talking about being real with our feelings and all that kind of stuff. But the battery idea is not mine. It comes from Gary Chapman, and this is probably backwards because I'm recording this backwards. But it's called the 5 Love Languages, and this happens to be the military edition. But in Gary Chapman's book, it is a Christian-based book, so there is some God language in it, but it's not just Christian. He talks about there are 5 ways that our love tanks, that our batteries get recharged. There's quality time, there's acts of service, there's gifts, there's touch, and there's words of affirmation. And what I'm finding for myself is that my usual love languages to give and receive, they're missing. They've been cut off by this crisis. And so there's not a way for me to recharge some of those batteries as much. And so I get depleted in a much different way than I normally would. So one of mine is quality time. And here I am in a home by myself with my dog for many hours a day. And so my quality time has to be sought out in different ways than normal. So that takes energy to do, but it reinvigorates me in different ways. And so I would encourage you, if you are interested at all in finding out about this, and there's a much better explanation on the website. It's 5lovelanguages.com. And so it gives you suggestions of how to understand your own love language and how to understand the love languages of those around you. So if you're finding that your kids, and it works, it's not just romantic ways, it's for friendships, it's for everything. So if you're finding that your kids are, whiny and clingy, or nervous and anxious or uncertain, there's a lot of things that are contributing to that at the moment. And it also may be that their tanks are empty and they just need refilling. And we can work together. You could work with them to refill those tanks. And one of the ways that you can find out what that requires is on the website, 5lovelanguages.com. There's a test there and some quick suggestions. So if you and your spouse and your kids, if you can fill in that test. And so, if you're feeling disconnected from your spouse, even though you're spending all sorts of time together, maybe your definition of quality time is different than just oodles and oodles of time sitting in the same space. So I would encourage you to seek opportunities to build your spiritual resiliency. And one of the ways that you can do that is by giving and finding out how to give and receive love to those around you so that you can fill one another's love tanks. So one of my love languages is acts of service. And so one of the examples of the way that I've been acting in service is by doing this very tangible thing of reflections and recording videos and what can I do to assist people. And I have found that has made a huge difference for me. So hopefully you're also getting some benefit out of it. But so that's just those are a couple of my personal examples. And I find when I'm acting in those ways, when I'm exercising those things, my tank fills up and then I'm much more resilient. So that's my reflection on spiritual resiliency today and how it has to do with the resources that we have at our disposal. And we will continue to work hard to bring you resources and get you get tools into your hand to not just survive this crisis, because we want to do more than survive. We want to thrive in the midst of this. And we want to, those of you who are struggling, we want to just give you ways to move the dial so that you're struggling less. And that would be a success for us. So we look forward to seeing you soon. And feel free to post a comment or subscribe to this channel if you want to see notifications when more reflections are up and running. So we'll talk to you soon and have a great day.